IVF is an emotional roller coaster. The crushing disappointment if it doesn't work, the overwhelming joy when it does. So imagine, after all that, getting through pregnancy, giving birth and falling in love, only to find out the baby isn't yours. It's the horrifying reality a Brisbane family is grappling with after a woman was mistakenly implanted with another couple's embryo. Family law solicitor Erin Steiner joins me. Erin, can you believe that this has happened and what those poor sets of parents are going through right now?
It's awful. I can imagine how horrific it is for both of the couples going through this, finding out that news. It's devastating for both of them.
So this happened at a Monash IVF clinic in Brisbane in what they're calling a case of human error. I know people make mistakes, but this is almost as big as it gets.
It is. All IVF clinics have very stringent processes in place to make sure these mistakes don't happen. So it's unthinkable that this sort of thing can happen. So it would be good if we can all understand how.
I mean, and you understand this process, right? You had your kids through IVF.
Yeah.
What you go through to get to this point.
Yeah, and for the couple that gave birth, I don't know how many cycles they went through, but my twin boys, they were lucky number 10. So, well, it's a long and stressful and emotional process. I just can't even imagine how devastating it is to find out this news, and if I put myself in their position, I just don't know how I would deal with that.
I mean, the scary thing is that we only sort of found out about it because the parents decided to move their embryos to another clinic,
yeah.
And that's when they realised there was an extra one and there shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Had that not happened, we may never have known.
No, they would never have found out. Yeah, and that child would grow up not knowing any different. The parents wouldn't think anything different of the child. Yeah, it would never have come to light.
It does make you wonder how many other mix-ups have perhaps happened that we just don't know about.
Yeah, I think that's right, and that question has been asked. How many times has this happened? Has this happened before? And we don't know, and we don't know if people will start to question a little more, question maybe their own child. It doesn't look like them, and maybe we should check this.
And I mean, we have no idea how old the child is. There are some reports that it's now a toddler. I mean, how do you take them, potentially, from the only family everything they know?
I hope that they can come to an agreement about this. I really hope that they can sit down and come out with something sensible that's going to work for everyone as much as it can work for everyone. But if not, that's something the family court is going to have to grapple with, and that's a really difficult issue for the family court. They do deal with those issues on an everyday basis about.
But they've never dealt with something like this, though, have they?
Definitely not. This is a really unique set of circumstances that, to my knowledge, the family court has never had to deal with. So we don't know how they would go about dealing with that, how they would go about introducing the child to their biological family, which, in my view, is the right course.
Okay, that's a really big call you're making there. You think the right place for this child is with the biological parents?
I think so, yes. I think because the family court has to look at the best interests of the child. And if you think about that child growing up, and if that child comes to the knowledge that it was withheld from its biological family, in these circumstances, the effect on that child could be devastating.
Oh, what an absolute mess.
It is.
And how cruel. Like, I can't think of anything crueler than you've been so desperate to have a baby and it's going to play out however it's going to play out. It's
awful, and we don't know the birth parents. We don't know how many times they've tried IVF. We don't know if this is the end of the road for them. Can they try again? Do they have any more? We know they do have some embryos, but are they viable? And was it viable because it wasn't their embryo? You know, so these are questions that it's just awful.
So can you explain to me then, under the law now, like who is the legal parent, and can that be challenged?
So Under Section 60H of the Family Law Act, the birth parent and the birth parent's partner are the legal parents of the child.
Okay, so that's who the child is currently with.
Yes,
Yep.
correct. There are certain things that can displace parentage, but in this case, because it's never been looked at, you wouldn't know whether or not the family court could displace the presumption of parentage in this case.
So eventually, if this goes, so what you're hoping is that this gets settled with some resolution where everyone can find an answer that works for them. But if not, this goes before a judge, and a judge decides you get that child, you don't.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I'm guessing too that both parents here are looking at huge compensation, but I mean, if you're in the middle of this mess, who cares about that? Who cares about money and that pain, like the psychological damage from this?
No, I think there's no amount of money that is going to compensate.
Oh my goodness. And look, and you think, IVF is on the rise, and not just freezing embryos, but eggs and sperm. There's got to be a lot of people who are quite anxious right now around this. How do you prevent mistakes? How do you prevent human error?
You can put all the processes in place you like. You can put all the regulations in place as much as you like. But the fact is, human error will occur where humans are involved in any part of the process. Mistakes
I'm just not kind of copping that with this though, because this devastates lives, and there's got to be processes in place where, I'm sorry, if there is human error, there's some sort of system in place that
I think the thing is, there are systems in place, and I think that's why it would be really helpful to know, as I said earlier, how did it happen?
Yeah.
And is it a case of being able to put something in place that is going to make sure this doesn't happen again? And I'm sure the clinics and all clinics across the country are going to be looking at this and what went wrong and what can we do to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah, and I'm sure the clinician who was responsible for this mistake will be feeling devastated right now.
Yeah.
Look, Erin, I mean, this is such a nightmare, and at the centre of it, you've got two families and a little human. So our thoughts are with them tonight, and we really thank you for your time.
You're welcome.